Schilling Show continues. It's a Throwdown Thursday. We've already jumped into it, and let's jump a little deeper. Welcoming back to the show. It's been too long since we've talked to Matt Hardin, former Commonwealth's attorney for Greene County. They don't know what they were doing when they didn't invite Matt back, but he's on to bigger and better things. He's a noted government transparency and accountability advocate, somebody who has won very significant cases in court, things that have set precedents and beyond. Today's topic, Governor Spanberger overstepping legal bounds at VMI and Virginia Tech, and there's been some legal action. You're probably going to hear this news for the first time right now. Matt Hardin, welcome back.
Hey, Rob, it's great to be on again. It has been too long.
I want to set the context here. We had something called the Virginia Way, and I remember for most of my time paying attention to governance here, that appointments to state university positions and governing boards and so forth were basically done to benefit of whoever was sitting in the governor's seat. In other words, if that person wanted them, there wouldn't generally be contention. Is that still the way, or have we thrown everything upside down?
I think that way has been fading out. I won't say that it's gone entirely, but it's going away. It used to be that this was sort of a public service position, and I think anybody that was a respectable candidate was expected to be able to serve on these boards, and everything's political now, so that's not how it is necessarily anymore.
Interesting that we had, I'm guessing, at least the way I look at it, kind of a precedent set by Governor Youngkin getting rid of Burt Ellis for whatever claims he made that he wasn't doing the job well. But it seems to me that set in motion with the Democrats to reject Ken Cuccinelli and other people, just saying, hey, if you're going to play that way, we're going to play too, even though that was shooting against your own guy. So was there some relation to what's happening now, which we'll get to in a moment, and Youngkin's termination of Burt Ellis?
I think you're absolutely right. The trends start this way. You always spray at the edges before everything falls apart entirely, and I think that what happened at UVA was sort of the start of this idea that it's not a term position and you're not going to serve without controversy. But that tradition is entirely gone now. I think VMI and Virginia Tech both have folks being removed from the board by Spanberger, and it seems like the trend is accelerating, not going away.
If we have time, we'll get to Virginia Tech, but I do want to start with VMI because it was actually a suit that you filed, a Morris versus Virginia Military Institute. Would you tell us what's going on?
Well, Bob Morris is a VMI alum and a former colonel, a retired colonel in the U.S. military, and he filed some FOIA requests with VMI, and these requests are related to a lot of things, but most notably, we know that certain folks have been removed from the board by the new governor, and it subsequently came out that they're having meetings in secret, basically. They'll announce they're having a public meeting, but if you show up to exercise your right to petition, they'll turn you away at the door. And it's come out that they're holding votes on the Board of Visitors there over text message and email so that nobody can comment at all or see what's going on at all. They're doing all of this by text and email. And then when you send FOIA requests, they can't get their story straight because they'll send requests that sort of prove there's more documents out there, but they won't acknowledge the other documents. And so the joke that I tell, it's very unfortunate because it's not funny, but if they're going to lie, they should at least do a better job.
They should. Let's talk about what the law says they're supposed to do and their accountability in all of these instances. How are they violating?
Well, I think in the first place, they're supposed to maintain records and be honest about what exists and what doesn't. In the second place, decisions are always made. Votes are always held in open meetings in Virginia. That's an old thing. Even when a meeting is properly closed, they always come out of closed session to vote. So having votes behind closed doors through these electronic means is not acceptable. Of course, during COVID, everybody got used to electronic meetings, but electronic meetings are also supposed to be public. They're not supposed to be behind closed doors. So all of those are problems, and I think that one of the things that VMI is accused of now is not only are they hiding and destroying records, but when they get FOIA requests, they're actually altering the FOIA portal so that they can sort of hide the ball in terms of what they received and when.
We're talking with Attorney Matt Hardin, who has filed a suit regarding VMI and not being forthright in the records retention or the records distribution via FOIA requests. One of the things I'm thinking about is when I was on city council, we had the city attorney, Craig Brown, sitting in the room telling us if we were stepping over the line. Well, at least sometimes he did that. But where is the legal representation at VMI telling them they shouldn't be doing these things?
Well, so this is another story of norms being broken, but it used to be that most employees of the Attorney General's office were career attorneys who had been there for a while. The new Attorney General, Jay Jones, has more or less cleaned house and did a lot of firing when he first came in. The general counsel for every state university in Virginia it reports to the Attorney General of Virginia. It's a job where the Attorney General is their boss. Mm-hmm. And so the Attorney General fired them all, and he does not appear to have hired anybody new. So right now we have Spanberger's crew going into VMI, sort of tipping everything over as they do, and there's not even a general counsel there to tell them maybe we ought to think about this. Jay Jones can't be bothered to send somebody down there.
This is really dangerous, and I guess it gets to the next part of my question, Matt, is when people are doing these nefarious things, and these are very serious charges as well, they should be taken that way. What is the repercussion? In other words, how are they deterred from doing this again and again and again, or is there just a little slap on the wrist and they go about their merry way?
Well, this is the problem, and I think that courts are entirely too lax, as a general rule, in sort of holding public officials to account, because normally, even if you win a FOIA case, you get some documents after you've waited months and months and hired a lawyer, and sometimes the lawyer gets paid, which I suppose is nice if you're a lawyer, but it doesn't make anyone else actually change their course, and the taxpayer pays the bill. So really, everybody loses in a normal FOIA case. There is a provision in Virginia law where you've got people acting in bad faith, and you can make them pay a fine to the State Literary Fund. That's the fund that pays for the Library of Virginia and Richmond and a few other places across the state. And so I could probably count on one hand the number of times that courts have ever imposed a fine on a public official for lying in bad faith in a FOIA context. But we're seeking that here because we think that some of VMI's untruths are so egregious they had to know better. This is not just violating the law. This is intentionally going out of your way to alter records to deny that things exist that obviously do exist. It's so untruthful. We are at least asking these people to pay a fine to the State Literary Fund. That would not be paid by taxpayers. So if we win, it's not money going from one taxpayer bucket to another. It is actually going to come out of somebody at VMI's pocketbook and go to the Library of Virginia.
Let's talk about the bigger picture. So let's say you're successful in all this. What is the ultimate change that you're seeking in addition to comportment with the law? I mean, what are we looking for further down the line?
Well, that's a tall order, but what I'd like to see is transparent governance at VMI. I think that VMI has said for a long time, I mean, they've been training our officers who go into the military. They have a proud tradition of, raising or I guess, educating true leaders who keep our country safe and serve our country. I would like to think that we could do that instead of play politics at VMI and figure out who's the governor and how in charge they are. I would like to think that VMI could be transparent, just like we expect our public servants at state and federal to be transparent. And I mean, I would like to think that they're setting an example when they teach these military leaders of the future, that they are going to be honest and transparent themselves at VMI.
One more thing, we're talking with Attorney Matt Hardin on this lawsuit regarding VMI and FOIA requests. You made the FOIA request and filed the lawsuit, and then miraculously something happened almost immediately that was dangling in the wind for a while. Tell us what happened.
Oh, it's amazing. I've told you that VMI has certain documents that we can prove existed that they have been sort of hiding the ball on and pretending they didn't exist.
Yes.
Some of those documents relate to a former governor. Folks may recognize him from his yearbook picture, Ralph Northam, and he now serves on the VMI Board of Trustees. We did not have records. We knew there were records, but VMI didn't provide them relating to Mr. Northam, and we served VMI yesterday about 2 o'clock, almost 3 in the afternoon. And within an hour, wouldn't you know it, VMI found some additional documents. So it's amazing when you sue them what they can find.
Before we go, Matt Hardin, if people want to be in touch with you, tell us the best way.
It's MatthewHardin.com. That's the website. Would love to hear from people. And if you know anything more, I think this is sort of a public story right now. If you know anything more about what's really going on at BMI and where these particular records are buried, I'd love to hear from you.
And let me just leave you with a high note here. One of our listeners says, Matt is a gem. So proud of him. He will straighten them out. And that's from Pat. So you've got fans who are grateful for what you're doing and your continued efforts, Matt.
Well, thank you. And thanks to Pat.
Okay. Have a wonderful day. I hope to see you soon.
You too, Rob.
All right. There he goes. I really love Matt Hardin. He is just the best. And it was a great loss to Greene County when they replaced him, but he's on to other things and still keeping his hand in and keeping them honest, at least trying to.